One of the things we all appreciate are web pages that download quickly. So when we're developing web pages or creating websites, we want to really pay attention to how long it takes to download things. One of the things that becomes lengthy to download are images. So in this video, we're going to learn about how to resize images so they're no bigger than they need to be. What we want to do is match the file size to the display size. So this was already done with the images that I provided in the last activity, but then we added some additional content. And in this case, this last table row was added, and it included this image called distractions1.jpg. And if I go look at this distractions1.jpg, when I just look at it in here, it looks about the same size as all of them, but that's deceiving. If I hover over it, it tells me that it is 1271 by 825. Now those are pixels. So that means it's 1271 pixels by 825. And the reasons it's not showing up any bigger is because I made it to match that same size. So if I took off the width and height here and just did a save on that and refresh, we can see how really big that image is. Now another way that we can see how big that image is, so leave the width and the height and refresh, it goes back to that. I can right click or open image in a new tab. So I want to open the image in a new tab, and then it shows me how big it is. Right? And sometimes notice how it just fits to the page, so you need to make sure your page is big enough to show how big it is. So both those ways help me understand that this image is bigger than it needs to be. Now the problem with that is if you have a large file size, then it's going to take longer to download than if it's a small file size. So since we want to improve the efficiency of our web page, we want to make these images as small as possible. So we make them as small as the largest size we ever display them as. So if I look at my code, I'm really displaying it at 320 by 240 wide. So I want to resize it that way. So there are lots of tools. I'm going to show you one. So if I go to webresizer.com, it says resize photos here. So I click that, and this is how I do it. I want to upload that image, so I'm going to look for it, and it's in this file. You have to be able to find it. So there's that page, and I'm going to upload it, and then it brings it up here. Now notice these look exactly the same, but this shows you the sizes. So it just picks a size. It'll either pick what you used last time you used this, or it'll pick a size that it's very comfortable with. So here's the original, and it's 1271 pixels wide by 825 pixels high, and now it's changed it to 400 by 260. But I want it to be 320 by 240, so I'm going to put 320 here. And that's for the width, and I'm going to apply the changes. Now this is doing two things. It's resizing it, the actual file, and it's optimizing it for the web. So now how did the size go? It went from 122.91 kilobytes down to 15 kilobytes. So we reduced the download size of that. This is small enough that it was already optimized for the web, so all it did is resize it. Okay, I'm going to download this image, and I want to put it right where I'm working, and I'm going to call it. Now often you don't want to lose the original, so it gives it a different name, but you might want to, you might keep it that different name so you have it in case you want to ever go back and use it in a larger size. So now what I'm going to do is, now I've got in here two of them, one that is 320 by 208, which is what I want, and I'm going to go ahead and change the name to that. I'm going to save it and refresh. And notice it doesn't look any different, but what we're doing is downloading much less quantity, and that will make our page download faster, which helps everybody. All of us like fast downloads. Now notice on this one it didn't make a lot of difference, but it makes enough difference to be important for your web page. You really want to trim off every chance you get. But now let me show you what happens when you choose a file from a camera that you've taken. So if I go to where I've got a picture that was taken with a camera and upload that image, notice it's even taking a while to upload. And here it says that original image is 2,105 kilobytes, and you see how large it is. So now if we make that as small, 320 by 460, it goes down to 32 kilobytes. Look at the difference in size. Boy, so it's being optimized for the web, and it's resizing it and makes a really, really large difference. So be careful when you're doing images that you resize them to match the size that you're displaying them at. And now we know how to do this, we'll start using this coding style guideline in images to make sure the images have been resized to match the largest display size on the website. So go ahead and start implementing this policy as one of the general coding style guidelines that we will use.